begins now.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. It's 5:09 on NewsTalk 710 KURV. I'm Roxanne Garcia along with Davis Franklin, and it's been a very fast 4 o'clock hour, and we have one more hour left, so we got to get right to it.
Yeah, we'll do movie reviews, tell you what you should go see and what you should stay away from in the next half hour. It's 5:09, and we're going to talk about Borderfest. There was an announcement today, a traditional announcement from the leadership, the elected leadership, and the unelected leadership of Hidalgo, announcing that Borderfest will go forward in early March as anticipated, as in where it started, where it stayed is their slogan. Borderfest was mounted by the city of Hidalgo and by the Borderfest Association and by the Chamber of Commerce for years. There was a splitting of the blanket and lawsuits over the use of the name Borderfest. The Borderfest Association did not prevail in those, and a district judge has, for the moment, cleared the way for Borderfest, the festival and the name to be used by the city of Hidalgo. One of the lawyers for the city of Hidalgo, who has been in court a lot lately, is Dan Rios, former state district judge Danny Rios. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Davis, for having me on. It's a pleasure, as always, and it's good to know that y'all have an interest in this matter.
Oh, yeah, it's a very interesting. We have an interview with the city manager a little bit right after you, who's going to say Matt Allen's not interested in they're not going to do a festival this year. So you guys prevailed, but there's still a trial to go forward with, right? There's still a trial. In fact, there's a setting later in the year. Do you think that's going to happen?
I'm not really sure what the defendants plan to do, but the court, as part of the rules of our procedure, once an injunction, a temporary injunction is issued like this, it'll last through the pendency of the case, and the rules require that a trial take place and be set as part of the injunction order. So the court saw fit to set the trial in September, and we look forward to the trial because I think our evidence, as it was in the injunction hearing, will be overwhelmingly in our favor at the trial.
Mr. Rios, can you walk us through the process since this started? Because I was at the announcement of McAllen that it was going to be moved here, and I even tried Demon Dow to get people from Hidalgo to be on our program, and you're the first one to say yes, so thank you for being here. But, I mean, can you walk us from the beginning into where we are now, from Hidalgo's perspective? Because we haven't heard it.
From the beginning started 39 years ago. And we're about to celebrate our 40th anniversary, proudly so. So that take a long time to walk us through the process. But let me just tell you this: in 1976, when this event started, it was a city event. The city essentially supported the event, and it was basically named Borderfest, but in the Spanish translation. So all that happened in 1984. When they changed the name, they just changed it to the English version of the Spanish name. 8 years later, this so-called unincorporated association called Borderfest got their tax-exempt status, and so they claim now to own the Borderfest name. But the reality is they got
a trademark though too. Danny.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So in trademark law, they've got a federal trademark. When that occurred, our then city manager, his name is Joe Vera, he was our city manager at the time. He took a trip with the mayor to Washington, D.C. to talk to trademark lawyers to start the process of trademarking Borderfest, and they did that on the city's nickel. Okay? Halfway through the process, somehow, some way, Mr. Veda, still our city manager at the time, decides, and this is all on the record, this is part of the evidence, mind you, our then city manager, Joe Veda, decides he's going to do a little switcheroo and put the Borderfest name into his Borderfest Association, which at the time he was the president and CEO of, and decided instead of giving it to the city, he's going to give it to this entity that he owns and controls. And by the way, the man gets takes a 15% cut of every sponsorship donation that is brought in. And I don't think the sponsors really know that. And by the way, it is not appropriate for a director of a nonprofit association or a corporate officer to receive money or funds from the nonprofit. And so for the last 10 years or so, he's been receiving 15% cut of all sponsorship donations, which is dubious at best, but it also supplies his motivation to take the name from the city and give it to an entity that he controls so he can get his 15% cut.
Let me jump in here, because I thought I heard testimony that he and then the then mayor traveled to D.C. to get the trademark Borderfest for the Borderfest Association.
Okay. Davis, you weren't there for most of the cross-examination of this individual. During the cross-examination, we produced evidence showing bills sent to the city's attorney and to the city, identifying the city as the client and the city as the person, the entity that was seeking to get the Borderfest name. And then halfway through that process, like I said, we provided the court with subsequent legal bills from the trademark lawyers, then identifying Joe Vetta as the client seeking the Borderfest name. So you tell me, Davis, this thing started out, according to the evidence we presented through these legal bills from the trademark lawyers, it started out as an effort by the city, and it ended up that the trademark went to this Borderfest Association so that this individual, Vetta, could continue to get his 15% cut from the sponsorship donations, which is, by the way, not appropriate. And by the way, we've looked at their tax returns, and their tax returns for this nonprofit tell the federal government, the IRS, that no directors or officers of the corporation receive funds from the activities of their nonprofit association. So they're going to have to answer to the IRS at the end of the day here.
Mr. Rios, when I first asked you to walk us through the process, I was actually meaning when the announcement first was made, because I honestly thought that Hidalgo knew. So is it true that Hidalgo had no idea that it was moving to McAllen until the announcement was made?
Not any idea whatsoever. And in fact, and if we did, we would have started this litigation process a whole lot sooner. The fact is that somebody over in McAllen, and mind you, Mr. Vetta now works as an assistant city manager in McAllen, and what McAllen's doing, contracting with an entity that he owns and controls and receives direct funding by, is just boggles the mind. But that's a whole other issue. The bottom line is, when they made that press announcement, we immediately acted to file suit and restrain them from going forward. Okay, we did not waste any time. We had been planning this event, and if you heard the evidence, you heard the story about how long it takes to plan each yearly event. Within 2 weeks after the last event, city staff starts working on planning the next year's event. And Mr. Vetta is fully aware of the process, and he was fully aware of our intent to conduct our 40th anniversary in Hidalgo, and I say he's fully aware because he was involved in the process as a former city manager of the city of Hidalgo. He knew that we planned this event all year round. So all year round, he knew we're planning this thing, and they wait till 6 weeks before our event to make this really contemptible announcement.
We're talking with Dan Rios. Danny Rios is a lawyer, and he was one of the lawyers working on behalf of the city of Hidalgo. City of Hidalgo versus the Borderfest.
I'm sorry. I've got an incoming call, so that's my cell phone. I apologize.
Oh, I didn't even hear it. We've got just a few more minutes talking about the 15% commission that went to Joe Vetta as the president, to Joe Vetta for all sponsorship revenue, which he testified. There was testimony about. The elephant in the room is Vetta's testimony that he met with 3 city councilmen who wanted half of, as I thought I heard him say, half of his 15%. In other words, he's alleging an attempt to get money out of it, alleging a shakedown. It was never, he said it, the recording of it was not introduced into evidence. Now what happens?
Now what happens with that? You know, your guess is as good as mine, Davis. Let me tell you something. This event is the city taxpayers' event. It's the city's event.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't belong to any individual. And as lawyers for the city, we're going to see to it that remains the same. Okay. Whatever happens with those other allegations, of course, we didn't hear the tape. All we heard was Joe Veda's version of the account of the tape. And let me tell you something. Joe Veda, if you would have stayed there, Davis, for his cross-examination, you would not believe a word the man says, okay? And this guy is, when this process is said and done, Joe Veda needs to be concerned about his future. Let me tell you that.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, let's all be cool here because Joe's not here to... I think that's a good point, a good time for us to stop. Dan, thank you very much for talking with us. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, and anytime you can call me. You got my number.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Dan Rios is a lawyer. He was a lawyer for the city of Hidalgo, and as you can tell...
Wow, that was the first time we heard Hidalgo's side of the story, so thank you, Mr. Rios, for being with us.
So, what's interesting, this is the first time Joe Veda has really been excoriated. Even in the testimony that I saw, and I wasn't there for the cross-examination because I had to come back here, but they're really going after him. You're listening to 710 KURV.